I have to clarify because I said Blizzard soon. Blizzard soon's like a 2-year window. You got to give me 2 years.
I thought it was 2 decades.
It might be. No, 2 decades. Come on. Come on. That's Valve soon. Yeah, I just threw that out. I just threw that out.
Hey, what's up guys, this is Lee Mauga on your Overwatch back with a new video, and today we're going to be talking about new heroes, past the release of Sigma, stuff that's going on with Sigma, new events and big things coming up soon, as well as even a buff that went through on the PTR that a lot of people didn't realize. First up, Sigma has got a bit of a bug with his primary fire. If you manage to spam his barrier and hold down his primary fire at the same time, you can fire out 3 to 4 balls at a time. This isn't really very practical, which is why I don't mind telling everyone, and we can spread this around and make sure it gets patched out before it goes live. The reasons it's not that useful is mostly your shield can't be used when you do this, and also it's not very reliable either, just something that hopefully they patch out soon. Moving on, a lot of this information comes from an interview on Seagull's stream with Jeff and Josh, who designed the newest hero, Sigma. They have confirmed that Sigma was originally going to be Mauga. Now, you guys are free to argue about how I should pronounce that, but the information is actually quite interesting because a lot of the abilities were supposed to be going towards being Mauga, and he was originally going to be this huge, ripped berserker guy who was like genetically modified, and he was going to have dual rocket launchers and would be some kind of tank, they thought. It turned out that the abilities they ended up putting on the character and the lore that evolved with it ended up being someone like Sigma, who is supposed to be more calculated and intelligent. But you actually don't have to worry there because Jeff confirms Mauga is going to be a hero in the future. He doesn't say what one, but he is definitely coming at some point. On top of this, they worked on Sigma for a year, and this is Josh's first released hero, although he did work on the Torbjorn rework. But what's more interesting is that he says he's working on a DPS and a healer, which hopefully will be coming up in the next couple of releases, and that they already have at least 2 years worth of heroes planned out. Now, if you take a look back at the past, what they do is they have all of these abilities that are always thrown around on different heroes, and eventually they accumulate to create one hero. So they don't necessarily know exactly what hero is going to be 2 years from now, but they have enough of that conceptual stuff to be able to turn it into a hero by that time. This is really, really good news. I know a lot of people want another healer, and I'll be intrigued to see what they do with another DPS, because at this point there's so many of them, you gotta think it's gonna be difficult for them to come up with new ability concepts. Moving on to the secret buff though, Zarya and Symmetra had a bug fix that affects the minimum amount of damage that they can do based on how good your tracking is and when you break away from an enemy. This was actually looked over big time on the PTR, but Josh assures us this is a really big change. In fact, some of the Zarya gameplay in this video is on the PTR, and I did wonder why I was melting more than usual. It turns out that this change won't affect the pros too much, but the rest of us peasants are actually going to see a significant buff in consistency with Symmetra and Zarya's beam, giving them a buff overall, which I'm really, really happy about. The exact numbers are hard to tell, but you will notice it now that I've mentioned it in your games. For those of you out there that love Halloween, I have some news for you. Halloween is going to be coming out at the usual time as the old event, and they have confirmed the same number of skins that we just got for this Summer Games event. So some people weren't super happy with that, although Jeff did point out that this is the exact amount of skins that the original Halloween got back in 2016. He does say that they will try to add more skins if they can, but for now, they've got exactly the same amount planned out as we just got for the Summer Games. A month or two from now, and this is really interesting because I've heard it mentioned twice, Jeff has said by the end of the summer, or early autumn, there's actually going to be another big announcement, and no one knows what this is. We've of course already had the apparent leaked Overwatch 2 or expansion for BlizzCon, which was leaked by very reliable sources, but that's BlizzCon, that's in November, not at the end of summer. So it's hard to know if we're going to get a pre-announcement for that, or maybe we're getting another surprise hero or change or mechanic to the game. No one knows at this point, and wild speculation in the comment section down below. What do you think they could be announcing? As I mentioned, they are going to be announcing something very special at BlizzCon, and I think with all them leaks that we've had, it's pretty obvious that it's going to be some kind of an expansion, and I think that could be really, really good for the game. And maybe that's where we see Josh's new healer and damage characters that he's been working on. Now, one quick thing here that I think is really good for the game as well is that a lot of streamers seem to be coming back from Overwatch. The release of 222 is bringing a lot of positivity back, more balanced team comps, and just better overall experiences in ranked. Even though I do think there will be some teething problems with this, Tim the Tatman is confirmed to be coming back to the game for more than just his placements. Shroud has also been playing the game, even though he has some complaints, which I will also cover in the 222 video we do. And even Myth has come over from Fortnite and has been playing Overwatch as well. All of this is really good news, and do you think 222 is enough to keep these people to stay in the game? Because the more streamers that play this game, the healthier the player base is just going to be. Next up for you Paris haters out there, Jeff did speak a little bit about Paris and asked specifically what fans thought was the problem with that map, and the biggest answer was the first choke point, as it's probably the tightest choke point in the game, and it's even harder to get across than, say, Hanamura. Now, I think the biggest issue personally with this map is the fact that it's actually fairly different from traditional 2CP maps, whereas the others are all basically the same map. This one's a little bit different and people are struggling to get used to it. Even though I don't think that's a good enough reason to change it, Jeff did say that a lot of people want it changed and that they could look at it, and it's actually pretty easy for them to change maps for the most part, but sometimes it can take time in terms of the assets that they have to put after they've just got grey blocks that they've moved around. He did also give the argument about win rates, which again in quick play doesn't mean anything because you only attack or defend in quick play, so there's only one winner or loser every time, meaning that the win rate's going to be about 50%. So I kind of hope they keep it the same because I'm one of the 3 people in the world that like it, but if enough of you don't like it, they'll be changing Paris for you sometime in the future. Now we have some Sigma information, and I left this to the end because we keep talking about him. Now Sigma 9 is a thing going around. It's like the C9 meme where you've won the fight and you don't get on the cart. Well, Sigma's levitation ultimate is actually going to keep people off the cart long enough so that they can't get down, touch the cart, and win out the game. Only Orisa, Moira, and Reaper can actually get out of that ultimate. So there's a lot of clips going around about that right now. The thing is, originally C9 was because you'd win the fight and then lose it and it was your fault, whereas this is more of an outplay, but there's some pretty good memes going about. Also, Sigma and Roll Q are confirmed to be getting some iteration and some changes before they go live, both hopefully on September the 1st is where we'll see Sigma in competitive. He is not going to be in competitive in the beta when that rolls around in the middle of August, as far as Jeff knows. And also, Jeff heavily hints that Sigma will either have his own or will be involved heavily in an animated short. He describes him as one of the best characters and most interesting characters in the game, and they really, really want to see more of him. So if you like animated shorts, maybe, again, we'll be seeing some big stuff at BlizzCon. They keep saying it, so I'm going to hold them to it. They know they messed up last year at BlizzCon, not just Overwatch, but Blizzard in general, so I think they're going to come back in a big way this year. Also, you know Sigma's rock ability? Well, Sigma's rock is actually an outlier and cannot be eaten or deflected, and it does act as a stun. Originally, this was a projectile you could shoot out of the sky, and if 2 rocks from 2 Sigmas collided, they would actually hit and either disappear, and in some iterations of the game, actually formed rocks on the floor, almost like a mini Maywall. Apparently, there was just too much clutter in the game for them to keep that in it, but it's pretty interesting when you think about the different ways they have their abilities. Even with Sigma's ultimate, initially, it was more of a cone that went out in front of him and levitated everyone up, but it just made a lot more sense for them to have it on the floor. Progressing on that, they realized that placing his ultimate on the floor was difficult unless he could float, and now you have Flying Sigma in his ultimate. Pretty interesting on their thought process and how all that works out. Also, eating ultimates is intended. In fact, it's supposed to be exactly the same as Defense Matrix, although he can also eat Roadhog Hook, which Defense Matrix cannot do. So it's actually technically better than Defense Matrix if used at the right time, which is kind of crazy. So guys, that's just about everything rounded up from the community and Seagull on his stream. Let us know what you think to any of this stuff in the comment section down below. There is so much going on at the minute. We have so many videos to make. We're just trying to work through them one by one. Thank you for the continued support. It's been absolutely insane. Be sure to drop a like though, as it does help us out and lets us know you're enjoying the content, and all the videos we're uploading, well, you're going to want to see them, right? So make sure you hit that bell icon next to the subscribe button so that you get notified when our videos go live. Be sure to have a great day as always. Take care and peace, people.